All right, guys. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. How's everyone doing? See, we got quite a people online here today. Sorry for the slight delay here. I'm just getting used to this new system that's set in there. Is everyone able to log into that chat box and can everyone say something on there so I can know that you guys are all here and you guys can hear me just fine? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and begin. I'm not sure how this thing is gonna link up or whatnot, but I'm gonna go ahead and begin. I'm gonna start the screen sharing here. Okay. Okay, are my charts visible? Yep, okay, so let's get started. So, hello, good morning, good afternoon, how's everything going? So, today we're going to be talking about the importance of a price action area, right? Or the importance of specific price levels. Okay, how many of you guys pay attention to price levels? Let's start by asking this question. What is a price level? Okay, what's a price level to you guys? What do you think that means? Okay. I think there's a slight lag between my video and the chat box. So I'm just gonna keep going then today, just to get a hang of how things are working today. And then we'll sort it out by the next time we get back together. So we're gonna fire away. So what we're talking about is price levels today. Let me draw some levels here and let's see. We got a level right here. We're gonna call that, support, as many of you guys wanna call it. Whether you call this as support or resistance or an important price level, since the market keeps coming back to it. Now, the question comes is, why is a certain price important? Okay, there's a 3 to 5 second delay for the streaming. Okay, so if any of you guys have questions and you guys type it in the chat box, of course, give me a few seconds before I can actually see it to respond to you guys on it. Okay, so the main thing I want to point out is, why are certain levels more important than the other? So for example, if I say this area right here, okay, the markets bounce from that area too, right? Let me put an arrow right there. It bounced from that area too. Okay, there's some importance there. It bounced from this area as well to go upwards. Okay, there's some importance there. But why do some areas get more importance than others? Okay, so for example, this area, like I pointed out earlier, why is this one have more significance than the other ones that I drew? Now take a look at this. If I put my arrow right here on the two spots that I was asking you guys, which we say they do have significance, but not so much. Let me ask you this. Who controls the market? Is it tiny people like us? Or is it the big boys? Okay, so we have a large amount of big boys controlling the market, right? So if you think of it in that sense, the big boys don't trade a smaller time frame. Because if you think about it, when you trade a smaller time frame, you need to actually spend a lot of money and time and resources to execute. Now, what I mean by that is, let's say you are a normal individual and you're trading $20 or $30 per trade. You don't need anyone's permission to do that. In fact, you don't need permission from yourself to do that. You're gonna be like, $20, $30, it's okay, I'll do it. Now, put a couple more zeros on that thing. How quick will you pull the trigger if it's 20,000, $30,000 in a single trade. You're going to be a bit slower, right? Put a couple more zeros on that. How quick will you execute when it's 1 million, 10 million? Even slower, right? So when you keep that stuff in mind and the big boys have to unload this obnoxious amounts of money onto this thing to move the market, you have to know that there must be a plan, there must be a vision, and they're not trading the smaller time frame. You know, that looks like chicken scratch to them. They don't even want to deal with it. Okay, so if that's the case, now don't get me wrong, there is a difference between trading a smaller time frame on the futures market versus the Forex market. On the futures market, things are a little bit more stable there on a smaller time frame. Your broker is not your enemy there. Okay, and in fact, even in the Forex market, your broker is not your enemy to speak about it. It's just the technology and fierce competition is getting better and better and better eventually. But in the meantime, while it gets to a level like it is for the rest of the stock markets and stuff like that, it'll take some time. Okay, so having that said, so the big boys are trading higher time frames. So these red arrows that I drew, look what happens to them when I go up to the 4 hours. How visible are they there? Look what happens if I go up to the daily. How visible are they over there? I'm sorry, I think they just upgraded this thing. I wonder how I can remove that. Time zone, sessions, trading. Anyways, we'll deal with that later. I'm not sure how to remove. Oh, here we go. There we go, all clean. Okay. So now when you said this, and you see that there is nothing there on the daily chart. However, the area we drew earlier that kept bouncing and we're like, huh, that seems to be an interesting area. Notice how me as a 60-minute trader, I see it. Someone above as a 4-hour trader, well, he sees it. Someone higher as a daily trader, even he sees it. These are significant price levels, which means in this scenario, if you consider your big boy the 4 hours, if you're a 4-hour trader, then your big boy is the daily and the weekly. If there's some stuff that even they're watching, then it's something to be aware of. It's not something to just ignore. Does that make sense? Are you guys all following along? Can I get a yes? Even if it's going to be 3 seconds late? So at least I know we're all on the same page. I see a question by Rex. Navin, I would love to hear your comments on the massive move on the Swiss franc on January 14th. One contract move would have made or lost 50 grand, more or less. You said a move like that could not happen. Yeah. So generally, a move like that could not happen. The way I say stuff like that. Now, how many of us know about moves like that, about the currencies pegging and stuff like that? Okay. This type of news comes out actually ahead of time. I had brokers calling me, telling me, you know, if you're interested, there is a news coming out that can be quite volatile. So if you look at my charts here, actually, let me show you something here. I'm going to open up, let's say, pound. Okay, this is all my pounds that I watch. Okay. Look across my screen, you'll see not a single one of them has pound Swiss franc. I've removed Swiss franc completely. I just don't want to deal with it anymore. I'm going to wait till it calms down a little bit more. And the amount of pips there versus everything is just being dragged in the opposite side of the dollar or the euro. So it's like, there's no point. There's no point. Okay, I see a ton of yeses now. Okay, so I can see that there is a slight delay, but at least we're all on the same page and following along and so on and so forth. So, so Rex, I hope I've answered your question. I know if you have a response, I won't be able to see it in time. So I hope this answers your question. Yes, made it or lose it. I can tell you one thing, that any of my members, not a single of them lost a dime that day. Okay, we were on the sideline that day. We were just watching, and we were in fact more curious that what this information is going to do. Now, if you want to play with the big boys, you need to be more on the observation side, not on the side of something's going to happen, I need to do something. Okay, if you're going to be in that side, then we have more of a sense of what's the difference between a casino and Forex then, right? All the shining lights and glimmer is going to attract us into doing something. Just like the Forex markets, when the news pops out and suddenly starts moving, there is this incredible urge to chase it. Okay, so I mean, we do things a little bit differently. I'm sure there's other people out there that like to try to grab it, and they do all the research and stuff behind it to see if they can get in on the action ahead of time, which is fine, which is great. We have one of our individuals in-house who actually is a fundamental pro. And every time he comes up to us and he tells me his fundamental stories and stuff, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, that's a lot of research you put in that thing. Like, I'd love to use it, but in my technical analysis, the accuracy level is below, 10 to 15% of being wrong. And if that's the case, it's like, I can't put in additional 5 years of learning fundamentals, like, to the bone. So it's okay. It's something I just let go of. But like I said, it was a Swiss pegging move, and it was out there. So interesting thing to see. If you've noticed, they did that one time before, too long time ago. But anyways, getting back to the topic for today, which is important price levels. Important price levels. So far so good with everyone. Are you understanding the basic beginning of what I talked about so far? That a price level becomes more important if it starts to show up in more than one time frame. Okay, if you notice my red arrows on my screen right now, it doesn't show up on a daily chart. It's like, what is that area? It doesn't look like it bounced or anything from there. It's only showing up on my 1 hour. Okay, so depending on what time frame you're trading, all your important price levels will vary. All right. So one thing I also want to mention and help to tell you guys to ingrain is, whenever you're doing some research, right? You research upwards, not downwards. Okay. Now, when you say research upwards, now the saying in the market is, oh, you should always do a top-down approach. Yes, a top-down approach is because you need to be aware of what the big boy is doing first. Okay, so the same thing in this process is, when I say you want to be doing your research upwards, if you're curious about an area, you don't go down a time frame, start looking for the answers to speed it up. You, in fact, go up time frames to look for the answer. So it's the same thing of a top-down approach, but if you need to research, go upwards, not down. Okay, hopefully that's clear. That will save a lot of time and effort and energy and money. I've seen a lot of people blow away a lot of money in that information. So, okay, moving on. So I'm at a cross point here. That's okay for the delay. I'm sure we'll get it fixed. It's not a worry. I'm just at a crossroad here because I'm used to interacting with all the members and not just speaking, because I want to know what the real issues are and crease them out really well. So that's okay. That's okay. I'll just continue speaking in terms of what I see and how I can explain it. Okay. What else? From some of my older webinars and stuff like that, you'll notice also from I discussed support and resistance, which I always say support and resistance becomes more powerful if it uses both support and resistance and there is a strong blast through it. Okay? We use that as an area of importance. Now, why do we say that? Now, if you just looked at that information and just took it like, okay, well, Navin told me something like that. Okay, I'm gonna just go with it. Fair enough. But now if you take that information to theory, now going to theoretical side of things, and you actually look at stuff like that, well, okay, well, let me find some support equals resistance with a blast through it. There we go. Boom. Okay, here's a support equals resistance, and there's a blast that goes through it, and then it comes up and uses it as resistance as well. Okay, resistance here, support here. Okay, now these areas, when I used to say years after years after years that these areas are important, it's not because, okay, I've simplified it so everyone can follow the rules of, well, make sure there's a strong blast through it, but it's also an importance of to get a strong blast through a certain area, an area must be important. Okay, why is that? Let's take a look now. Let's take this on a higher time frame. Okay, hopefully all of you guys are regular followers of my webinar, so these things will start to make a lot more sense. Notice how on the 4 hours, all of these guys are watching this area closely. To break that level, you need strength. That means this area is not only visible by a smaller time frame or the time frame you might be observing, but it's also under watch by a higher time frame guy, which makes it the more enticing that if it comes back around that level, we are going to get a reaction. Even though we're a smaller trader, like a 15-minute or a 5-minute or a massive crazy guy who's a 1-minute scalper. Okay? I'm sorry, I'm just picking on scalpers today. I shouldn't do that. So anyways, so far so good. Does that make sense? Can I get yeses for that? 3-second delay, yeses? All right, I'm gonna keep a lookout for those yeses. I'm gonna keep going, okay? If at any time, again, guys, if my audio, my video, or anything is a little bit out of the way, just mention it immediately and we'll get it sorted. And if there's any questions, of course. Okay, moving forward. So hopefully this would make sense for those of you who have been following my webinars that, okay, well, there's more to that story than what he said in the very easy technical 1, 2, 3 rules. Because that's the thing, right? That's what our reputation is, to simplify Forex for people, right? So what we do is we take all this extensive knowledge and we're like, how can we put it down into basic rules? Like, okay, let this and this and this happen, and then you do it. And then as you go along with some more experience, and then we put out the fundamentals of why something like that happens, things click a lot quicker. And this is what we do at Forex Watchers, right? We start them off with a simplistic approach, and then we bring out the big stuff on them, and they're like, oh my God, this is so intense. It's so difficult, but at the same time, I can pick it up a lot easier. Okay, so it's just the way we teach. I hope that's okay. So yeah, moving forward, let's get to some more examples. Okay, important price levels. Okay, going back to our 60-minute time frame. Okay, I'm just assuming the 60 minutes are regular time frame that most of you guys are trading. We trade that in-house at 60 minutes all the time. Okay, moving forward, let me go to, let's say, Euro USD. Let's clean it all up. Okay. Okay, so Euro USD, we're seeing markets been moving up and up and up. Okay, it's has a directional overall direction following along with it. Yeah, and what trend is your friend, and this and that and all that stuff, right? Beautiful stuff. Well, one more thing I'd like to point out is don't forget to always be in this mode of, when I trade Forex, okay, excuse me for a moment, I'm gonna pause and I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of insight when I say the thing that always needs to run in the back of your head when you trade Forex. Okay, so here I'm gonna put it out there for you guys. Think to yourself in this specific way. You're a trader. There's a set level of knowledge that you have. When I say support equals resistance, everyone around me says, well, support equals resistance. I know what you're talking about. When I say trend line, everyone knows trend line. There is a level of common education throughout the market. Why don't they work then? Why do 95% of the people lose? Okay, and why do sometimes they do work? Okay, ever take a moment and step back and thought about that? Okay, so I'm going to explain how all the stuff works and why things are like that. Okay, let me take you to an empty chart. I wonder if I have paintbrush here. Where are you, paintbrush? No, I don't think I have it on here. Okay, I'm going to take you just to an empty chart on here and you'll get an idea what I'm saying. All right. Okay, I hope you guys can see my empty charts. All right. The market moves in a certain aspect. The first aspect, I want you guys to start thinking about how you guys can relate to this in real life as well. This is very, very close to what we do in real life. The first move happens. Boom. Okay. Big boys move it. This is usually the strongest move. You know, big boys move it. These are people who don't know about an opportunity. The market moves heavily upwards. Okay. Then pulls back. And then it starts to go up again. Boom. Now, a good 20–30% of people, when they see it, they're like, yeah, man, I got to get in on this, man. I got to get in on this. So they get in on that too. They make some money. And now, after big boys made money, after 20% of the world has made money on this, now comes the remaining 80% of the world that says, oh man, I've been missing out all these years. I need to step in on this. You've seen any of those last minute housing market buyers? Oh man, I need to buy a house. I need to start flipping houses. I can't wait to invest in a house. Right? What happens? They buy a house when it's really, really late into the market. And what happens is, around that time, interest rates start going up. Market crumbles on its way up. It goes very, very slowly, and then it crashes. Crashes to a point where everyone cannot afford to hold on anymore. And that's where 80% of the market comes in. They come in after the fact things have happened. Which also means when the news moves so hard, everyone's trying to chase it, right? Or when any event happens so difficult or such a strong move, there's a sense of, oh man, I didn't get in on that. And there's a sense of greed, which also means, oh man, I wish I could have made so much more money, but it's still moving, so I can make more money. All of this stuff, if it's not in check, if it's not in control, you are going to get sucked in. Okay, I'm not saying you specifically, but I'm saying an individual will get sucked in. Okay, yeah, I'm not saying you guys, because you guys are here, you guys are learning this stuff. So we're gonna crease this all out to make sure this is always running in the back of your head. The one way I like to say it to my members at Forex Watchers is think of this word: are you too late to the party? If you're too late to the party, stay away from it. If it's too obvious and the entire world sees it, why would you get on? Because the entire world does not succeed. That's why we have that 95% rule, right? Okay, so I took a longer than a moment to explain that, but hopefully it was strong enough for everyone to really grasp that information, that I don't want to get in on something too late. Okay? Don't chase it. Don't chase it. Okay? There are famous traders out there that use the words, you chase, you die. Okay. So moving back to my nice all black colors. Okay, here we go. Okay, so price points. Okay, let's do some examples here. What's an important price point? We've got an area up here. Okay, markets reacted heavily from down there, from up there. Okay, I might look at this as, well, there must be, you know, if we're looking at it in terms of supply and demand, there's a lot of supply up there. If we're looking at this in terms of trend lines, like, oh, that's the first time the trend line broke to the downside, if I draw my trend line like that. So it's like, oh, is this area got to be important because look at how much it's moved. Well, that's not it's not a very good way to look at things. Okay, that's not a good price point. A good price point is when on your time frame, it keeps popping up again and again and again. When a lower time frame does that, that means he will make the market stop a little bit, but to you, it means nothing. It could mean a small retracement of 5, 10 pips if you're a 60-minute trader, which means there's nothing to worry about. But if it's an important price point for someone above you, let's say the 4 hours or the daily, then if you're a seller and there's a price point just below you, you can pretty much start to be worried that if your trade's going to actually work or not. Does that make sense? I mean, is that starting to make sense how we need these price levels? It's so important to me and even my members that this is an important aspect of understanding that, are we selling into the lion's den? I mean, are we really just about to enter when we got these big sharks coming up? Okay, so it's important to know that part. Where is my trade? Where's my trade in this whole picture of where do I sit? Because whether you look at the 4-hour charts or the 15 or the 5 or the 1 minute, the current price is the same for everybody. But the way everyone looks at it is slightly different. And the people who look at it on a higher time frame have a lot more money. Okay? So something to remember and something to watch out for. Okay, so more examples. So I drew that purple line up there and we're like, okay, well, maybe that line could be an area. And then we can draw a line down here. It's like, well, okay, what if I do it like that? That looks like it's got 2 touches. Okay, whenever you come to a conclusion like that and you're like, could that be it? If there's any moment where you're thinking that, is that right? Pop it up a time frame. Just scan through and be like, well, does that work? Where's my line? There we go, there's my line. Does that work? Is that an area? Well, let's move it to the left. Ah, that is an area, isn't it? Okay, so not only do you see it, but it's also under watch from the big boys. So it's a good thing to keep track of these things of, is something important to the big boys or not? Yeah. Okay, there's some questions here. Can you please make a brief until this point? Okay, I'm guessing you came in late, MRC. Towards the end of the webinar, I'll do a full recap in a summary, basically. Okay, Joe, the question was, how do you be early to the party? Okay, so the question was, am I too late to the party and am I too early? Okay, same concept if I just look at it this way. If I'm looking at this as, okay, here's a support equals resistance right there, right? And I need to buy it. Okay, it's like, oh, okay, well, support equals resistance. It's come to an area. I like it. I'm going to buy it. Okay, but notice where you're buying this. I'm going to do the same thing. If I take it up a time frame, okay, you're buying it over there. Okay, what if I move it down? If I go down a time frame, it looks like, well, it's a perfect place to buy, right? Support equals resistance and everything. Now, the point I want to make here is, if you didn't get in earlier, this is a news blast here. If you didn't get in earlier here, and you didn't get in on the next pullback, the more it goes higher and higher and higher, the further you're pushing your ability to get in, because everyone is trying to get in on Euro USD now, because it's point blank in everyone's face. So what is every trading system, every MA, every anything gonna say? Well, Euro USD is up, so keep buying, right? But if you think like that, I want you guys to tell me this same information for a daily guy? What's his overall flow? Is he looking at this as, oh yeah, I need to start buying too? Or is his overall market pointing downwards? So how close are you coming to the big boy's price level, which could be here? What if he hits it? Aren't you getting closer and closer to the lion's mouth, basically? Okay, so this is it's one of those things that I wanted to touch base today on the price points with you guys. J, pound USD on the 1 hour right now. What is that? Is that a price point or what? Let's open up pound dollar. 1 hour. Let me clear all this out. Go to the 1 hour. Okay. All right. So what we're seeing is a couple of this things, right? Okay, resistance, 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 resistance. Now, is this important? Let's take a look at it on a higher time frame. What's it doing? Will it go down? Will it go up? Is this an important area? Well, if I drag it to the left, is this the reason why the market's been holding at this price? Well, let's take a look at this in an objective way. The market's in a slight uptrend currently. Not only is it an uptrend, it's in what we call a channel, right? Which we don't know yet. If it drops, we will know it's in a channel. Until then, we don't know yet. Okay, so it's trying to go up and it's holding above support equals resistance here as well. Okay, so we're trying to find out who's more important, this support equals resistance buyer or this support equals resistance seller. Who's got more power? Which one is it doing? So it's stuck in that dilemma in between, right? It's battling out buyers and sellers. But can you guys explain one thing to me? If this is a channel, which it looks like it's trying to do, right? Big buys and then big sells, slightly higher, and then big buys, slightly higher. If it's turning into a channel, what's a channel to you guys? What's a channel? Okay, let's simplify it. What's a range? Isn't a range look like this? Right? Now let's take that range and tilt it. That's a channel. Now, in a range or a channel, how do you trade? Sell from the top, buy from the bottom, the typical stuff, right? Okay, if that's the case, using the knowledge that we picked up today, okay, if this is a channel, obviously I want to sell from the top and not buy from the buy from the bottom. So I'm not going to be buying it now. It's too risky. Not to mention we're at an area that has an interesting price point, right? But take it even further and think, okay, let's say I do buy it now. Am I late to the party? When did this buy begin? All the way down here. Does that make sense? So you got to think of it in a certain way that, oh man, is everyone trying to buy this now? Am I going to get sucked into this because I'm trying to buy it too with everybody else? You get what I'm saying? So going back to, I don't know whose question it was, who asked, how do you be early to a party? And that's something we will need a good 3 or 4 or 5 webinars to discuss and cover. It's not doable in a single webinar, okay? Because there's a lot of information that needs to be processed for that. Yeah, looks like it's extremely late, right, Joe? So you got to keep that thing in mind. So whoever pointed out pound USD, that's good. This is a good example to look at when in terms of price points. Now, you also got to look at it like this. Now, not only is it that the price point that's important to us, but notice that I didn't base my idea of what I want to do with pound dollar based on just the price point. Okay, just because today we're talking about price point, it's not like the holy grail that, oh man, he said price points and I like his stuff, so I'm going to go home and I'm going to apply price points all over the place and I'm just going to sell and buy from the price points. No, don't do that. A price point is a tool. Everything that I normally teach, it's like an indicator. Okay, they have value to it, but you can't use them on its own. Okay, indicators, of course, I don't use them at all because they don't even follow price. They just follow price. They don't even stand a chance in the real world. So indicators out the window. But in terms of when you're reading it, you can't just use this price points alone. You have to bring in a little bit more information to the table. Okay, all right. So moving forward, let's go to some more examples. Aussie dollar. Let's see if there's something on Aussie dollar. Let's clear this up. Okay, we're on the 4 hours on Aussie dollar. What do you guys see? What would you guys say the direction for this market is? Will you guys be saying it's a downtrend because of this? Will you guys be saying it's an uptrend because of this little circle? Or will some of you guys be saying it's an uptrend because of this big circle? Can someone tell me what's the right answer? Okay, I can put one more information in there. Let's say I even draw a trend line and be like, well, that was my trend line and my trend line broke. So are we in a downtrend? So all this technical knowledge, and yet there is no consistency on how we read it, right? So that's where the problem comes, is the core aspects has a missing link, which is why one of the reasons why in all my webinars, I tend to not go into much advanced stuff. And I tend to focus on course because you'll be surprised. Many people who come over to us at Forex Watchers, they're good traders, don't get me wrong. You know, some of these members that we vetted up and trained, they're really, really good now. But boy, oh boy, every time they trade, and I'm like, you seriously drew your trend line like that? You know, I have to take them back to the drawing board. I'm like, you know, clear up the core. Oh, talking about that, we're going to be releasing something with FX Street in 2016 for you guys. We had a talk with them, and I think we're going to be getting you guys something quite nice when it comes to core. This will be good for both basic, intermediate, all three, and advanced level people. Okay. All right, so the different aspects you guys have said, there's an uptrend, big circle. You look at it like that. Susanna says depends on the detail. Hardik says uptrend and daily. Nathan says uptrend but losing steam. Okay, I like the way you word that there. Thiago says depend on the time frame. Okay. Scott says still is an up until a lower high. Okay, well, what if this is a lower, here, let me ask you, okay, that's a very good point you made there, Scott. It's still an up until a lower high. What if this is a lower high here? Now, think about it. For both, two things can happen. There's always two things that can happen. One thing is it does make a lower high, and two is it continues upwards. How do we know for sure it will make a lower high? Okay, everyone, how do we know for sure this is going to be a lower high? Or when would we know? Just spilled Coke all over the floor. Oops. Hardik, what happened to the trial of Forex Watchers? Oh, we removed that. We removed that. Well, no one's getting in on Forex Watchers anymore. We've closed it down. It's only members only. You have to pass through all our rigorous tests and everything to get in now. We're working with FX Street, something like that, that you can only get in if you pass the core and everything like that, because we had some crazy trial members in there, and I don't have time to deal with people who don't even have a background, proper background, sorry. So I'd love to help, but all the information, it's out there. People have seen my webinar and it's all out there. So anyway, just put in a little bit of effort, get it done well, and then come in and join, and we'll open up the doors then. Okay, Munder, I think it's consolidation in price hitting major resistance, exhaustion candle with a lower low when it makes a lower low after. Susanna, that's the correct answer. After it goes down. We will only know it's a lower high after it goes down. Now, if it goes down and we say, okay, it's a lower low now, which means it's a downtrend, which means what? We sell now? Doesn't that put us back at, look how late we are to the party? So we had the billionaires taking the big chunk of the move for a sell. We've had we had the 20% taking the next chunk of the move, and then we're taking all the leftovers now. This is why I wanted you guys to think ahead. Think ahead of, if this is the case, how do we proceed? Okay, so when you guys take this information and think about it, you'll get to see that how price points really come into handy. How you don't want to be late to the party, obviously, because as you're late to the party, it always keeps crashing, right? So I hope this information is quite useful. So let's do a quick recap. Okay, let's do a quick recap or a little summary on everything that we talked about today. So first things first, a price point is only as good as when a price point that whatever you draw is being used multiple times, right? Multiple times, and you're like, okay, why is this important? Because when we go up to a higher time frame, we can see that even they are possibly watching it, because it comes into handy for them too. Okay, so the next thing we discussed is make sure when you trade, you always think about, are you late to the party? Okay, you don't want to be the last bugger buying or the last bugger selling, right? Yeah, it costs too much to do that. It takes too much money away from us. Okay, the next thing is these price levels are important, that whenever you do your research, you always want to look upwards, not downwards. Okay, looking downwards is something that can still affect you, but it won't ruin you. But a higher time frame, if he has a price point in your way, that is going to affect you. Okay, so any questions? Let's go through some last minute questions before we call it a day. Hardik, quite expensive though. Yeah, we train people really extensively, Hardik. So our price point is we've actually increased it. It's 25,000 to get in now. So, but we are like I said, we're working with FX Street. They've talked to us, and we've talked to them as well, and we've come up with something to get you guys in January. And if you guys start passing that stuff, we'll get you guys good deals and stuff like that to get in. Okay, it's more important for me to get good traders. Don't get me wrong. It's actually more important for me to get good traders. That's what we're looking for, right? We're looking for really good traders, because we're not looking to educate people. That's not our point. We're actually looking to people we can bring in-house and trade with us, because we're actually a trading firm. We're not an education company as much. Okay, so Anyways, guys, it was good meeting you guys all. Hopefully the next time we meet around, there is a lot more technology involved and I can actually interact with you guys live immediately. Let me turn on the webcam back. I don't know where my Google Hangouts went. There it is. Let me turn off the screen sharing. Okay, so just wanted to say bye. And oh, there's some questions here. Sam, this means higher time frames confirms the market direction. Usually, yes, unless their higher time frames are saying something else. So keep that in mind. Hardik, I knew price was gonna go up. Okay, good. Oh, you okay? Sorry, for our firm, you mean? Yeah. If like I said, it's not. Don't even think about it in terms of price. Think about it in terms of how hard can you push to learn. If you can push hard to learn and you come to us and said, look, I've done everything, I've followed everything, I've been at it for X amount of years, we've opened up doors for some students like that. So it's not that you have to have the money to get in. No, it needs to be someone we can say, we can rely on this guy. Yeah. All right, guys, that's it for now. I have gone over by 5 minutes, so sorry about that. Thank you, FX Street, for having me here. Until next time, take care, guys. Bye for now.